is significant to equate to the 65 million Latinos that are in this country. It's not. That's what gaslighting is. You're trying to make me feel like I'm wrong in my information when I'm not, because you don't understand math and you don't understand how statistics works. When was the last time you took a stats class?
Statistics
Because
is
I can
science,
tell you
babe.
that 4,000 is not an adequate sample size for 65 million people. It would not be, as a nurse, I can tell you 4,000 is not an adequate sample size if I'm trying to figure out if this medication is going to be safe for over 100 million people. You understand that, right?
So
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to mute you again. That was my
yeah,
fault.
so yes, so we curve this stuff by the way that we take samples. So when you take samples at random, that is how you make that determination.
So
So
again, you're
so
going to
we
continue to
do this for
gaslight
any
me.
other
So again, you're going to continue to gaslight me and
gaslighting you. I'm
insist
explaining the
that
samples.
4,000 people who, by the way, 4,000 Latinos are white people, black people, brown people, native people, and Asian people in that sample size, on top of the different ethnic groups, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans. So that dwindles that number per ethnic group down to an even smaller sample size, because that means there's probably around 500 or so Mexicans in that sample size. And in that sample size, you're talking 37 million Mexicans in this country alone. So 500 is not an adequate sample size for 37 million people. 4,000 is not an adequate sample size for 67 million people. Stop trying to gaslight me in my own space.
I'm not gaslighting you. Do you want me to respond yes or no?
If you're going to keep on trying to insist that 4,000 is an adequate sample size for 65 million people, then there's no need for you to respond, because
Well,
you
I
are
clearly
wrong and you
disagree.
need
So
to
do
go
you not want the
retake a statistics
response?
class.
Like, let's be an adult here. So as far as what
Do not continue to gaslight me. Who in their right mind believes 4,000 is an adequate sample size for 65 million people? Do not justify your xenophobia or your anti-nativeness. Don't do it.
I don't understand how that's a good sample size. I'm
Yes,
trying to
we
wrap my
use
head
samples
around
for
it.
everything, but the sample size, because he's in the comments, the sample size has to be a big enough sample size to account for the whole. 4,000 is not a large sample size for 65 million. We're not talking 65,000, 65 million. Do you know how many thousands that is in a million?
Traditionally, the sample size would be about 10% of the total mass. With it being a Latino structure, that
I
doesn't.
can't hear you.
Oh, my bad. I was saying that
Sounds like your mic is covered up, like you're muffled.
a sample size should be about 10% of the total population of what you're doing. And that's not 10%. That's a terrible sample.
Thank you. I appreciate it for adding that.
On top of that, with them,
You still sound muffled, though. Just saying.
the Latino community is so broad that you couldn't get an individual community. It'd be like saying all African descent people. That would include Haitians, Jamaicans, African Americans, traditional Africans. That would then lower the number. So let's say all traditional Africans voted one way, and out of the 4,000 they get Haitians and traditional Africans and not African Americans, and they voted a different way than African Americans. That would sway the numbers to looking like African Americans didn't vote a certain way.
Thank you, because I feel like people do not want to hear what I'm saying on this. And trust and believe, I've not generalized the Black community. I don't believe that the majority of Black people do not have our backs. I believe these are the loud ones that are being loud and thinking that they can speak for the entire Black community. So to my people, I just want to make it very clear, because I've been reposting videos of Black allyship all over the place. Make sure you're not sitting here taking what some of these negative people are doing as the entirety of the Black community. If we don't like to be generalized, we don't generalize either.
And I really think that this whole laying out of the demographics that got posted the day after the election was very strategic. It was strategic so that, you know, people would see like, okay, this is what the Latinos wanted. This is what the Latinos voted for, you know? And it really did, it really did start kind of a race war, because after that, it has been consistently attacking our community constantly.
It's not a race war. This is ethnocentrism, babe. Like, what are we talking about?
Please don't cut her off while she's talking. I'm
Let's
not
use
sure
the right
what panels you're
terminology for the
used to being in.
situation.
I don't know what panels you're used to being in. I let you up. You do not cut off a woman while she's talking.
I can cut off who I want to.
Then you can.
No, you
I'm
can't.
gonna go
Today.
You
Why
cannot
are you
cut off
here?
who you
Get
want
off. Get off of the live.
Yaya wasn't even finished.
Hey, I'm gonna hop down. I was just letting you know real quick that they doing a live on you and they got your face up and all that
Oh,
stuff.
I know.
And okay, cool. I just want to make sure.
I already cussed his ass out because he came over here thinking he could summon me over to his live.
Okay, cool. I'll holler at you. That'll be good.
I got it. Thank you.
Bye, Poetic.
Have a good one, Poetic. No, I've not generalized black people in this conversation at all. Not one time.
Absolutely not, because there is a lot of people in the African community that are also on our side. Like, I have a lot of followers. I follow a lot of content creators that are speaking out on these issues, and they're talking about unity. You know, and there are some people that are like, oh, well, we're not going to help you. This is your fault. You asked for this. And then there's others that are like, no, we have to, because this is a humanity thing. We can't keep allowing this to happen. You know, I think blacks and browns have been through enough. Like, history cannot repeat itself.
Please explain what words that I used that was AAVE. If you're talking about my accent is not AAVE. AAVE is a language. You should know that. She said blacks and browns. She put an S on both. Stop doing that shit. And matter of fact, please just say black people, brown people.
Yeah, black.
But stop freaking acting like she just said blacks and that was it. And she didn't say browns.
I said blacks and browns. Yeah, I don't understand why.
Stop the bullshit. See, that's the type of shit that I don't play at all. You're not going to sit up here and deflect away from shit and not call out other shit. Like, that's not going to work. I'm not the one. Mind you, I literally work with manipulative people for a fucking living. So I can tell when people are being manipulative and trying to distract away from their own bullshit. It doesn't work in my space. That's why Jenty is over there acting like a little bitch in his live right now. Because he's mad. He's mad he got called out. He's mad he got corrected. And he thinks he's going to send all his little cronies over here to fucking harass me. It doesn't work that way.
Someone was trying to tell me to go to his live. I blocked him because of how he talked about Native Americans and Palestinians like 2 months ago. I'm not going in his space. I'm okay.
Calling black people loud? You mean to tell me the black people who are being the loudest about their propaganda and anti-nativeness and xenophobia? Again, you're not going to twist shit up, my dear. Because it's always the people who are the fucking most anti-native and anti-black and anti-Asian and anti-gay and anti-woman who are the fucking loudest. Tell me I'm wrong. It was not a microaggression. Learn what a fucking microaggression is. Learn context. If you don't understand words that are coming out of people's mouth because you don't get context, go back to school and learn some shit. Because I say the same shit to my fucking people when they don't understand context. I say the same thing to white people when they don't understand context. Don't fucking come up here judging me and assuming what I do on my platform if you haven't even looked at my fucking platform or have never been around my platform, because I call out everybody who pushes colonized mindsets. I call out everybody that pushes indigenous erasure, whether they're black, whether they're white, or whether they're my own. And many people can attest to that. I don't discriminate. If you're acting like a fucking colonizer, you deserve to be called out on your fucking behavior. You're not part of our people. You're not for the people. You're performative as fuck. But while they sit there and host a live attacking a Native woman, thinking they could summon a Native woman to a live, and thinking that they could come in here and overspeak a Native woman and then spout misinformation and claim things that I never fucking said without any receipts, is automatically pushing lateral violence onto a Native woman. Onto a brown woman. Hypocrites. Did I just call black people colonizers again? Clean your ears. Here, let me explain something. I said, if you're acting like a colonizer, I will call you out as such. So if you don't know how to clean your ears, here's a little tip. You can go to the store and get what is called normal saline. It's sterile water with a little bit of salt in it, okay? You can also buy yourself some peroxide. And when you put about 1 part peroxide to 3 parts normal saline. You mix that up, you pull it up in a syringe, and you put it in your ear. When you do that, that mixture breaks down all the wax in your ear so you can hear properly. I got all kinds of good advice like that. Want more? Don't get mad at me because you guys want to cause division. Don't get mad at me because you don't want to admit to your anti-nativeness and your xenophobia. If you're in here running your mouth and talking shit, that's exactly what you're doing. The rest of them that are not doing that are not the ones being anti-native or xenophobic. I ain't got no smoke for black people who are not anti-native or xenophobic. I ain't got no problems with black people who are not anti-native and not xenophobic. I ain't got no I will ally unconditionally, by the way, unconditionally for those people. I do the same with mine. I cut off my people all the fucking time. They can stay back where the fuck they were at until they're ready to decolonize. Otherwise, I ain't got no fucking time for it. You're a fucking anchor holding us down. And then want to have the nerve to complain about colonization. And want to have the nerve to complain of white supremacy when you're literally perpetuating white supremacy talking points, microaggressions, and using white supremacy tools to harm other marginalized communities. While forgetting that those marginalized communities you are harming are indigenous to these lands. This is our home. You're disrespecting us in our home. And if we are still being locked up in the fucking basement by the people who came into our home and took it over, what makes you think you're gonna walk out of the fucking home free? If they can do what they do us, what makes you think that it won't happen to anybody else? The amount of disrespect indigenous people get on this app and in this country as a whole, and the amount of minimization of people that try to make it seem like we have some kind of proximity to whiteness that is much different than everybody else's. It's not. Genocide is not proximity to whiteness. Every single president that has mass deported a brown person was complicit in genocide. Every single president. Every single one. Democrat, Republican, black and white. And that is because people fail to believe that those brown people are indigenous to these lands. So the genocide gets unnoticed. So the genocide is minimized. Because we're not indigenous. We're mestizos. You participate in indigenous erasure and you participate in our genocide every time you push propaganda like that. People on the other side of the world didn't even know Native Americans fucking existed. They make it look like there's only 4 million Native Americans because they only count tribal Native Americans. But if they counted all the brown people who fall under the Latino label, we would be the majority here. But they can't let you think that. Now, can they? They need to make you think that we are almost non-existent. They need to make you think that they are the majority. And you fall for it. If you can't recognize the tactics of white supremacy, then you have no business preaching about white supremacy. Because if you fall for it, then you participate in it. Thank you. Have a good one, Yaya. I don't deal with performative shit. I ride for my people. And I ride for every other marginalized person out there. Whether you're black, whether you're brown, whether you are LGBTQ. That's who I advocate for. People who are supposed to have basic fucking human rights. And if that advocacy is conditional, then you should never be advocating for those people. You should never have conditional advocacy, ever. Because what happens to one group happens to another group. Don't know history? I suggest you read it and recognize the patterns. I suggest you read the history on Native people at the start of colonization, because there's a lot of people who don't even know that Native people were enslaved here. Native people were trafficked here. Native people were trafficked to the other side of the world, over to Europe, way before, a couple of years before they started bringing Africans here. And when they started genociding us, that's when they went and stole Africans to bring them over here and kidnap them and enslave them. Over here in the Western Hemisphere was the first time they started enacting the kind of chattel slavery that had never been seen before in the world. And that started with indigenous people. You don't believe me? Go read American Holocaust. They were feeding pregnant Native women to dogs for entertainment. And then they started pushing that kind of hate and torture onto black people, African people, when they brought them over here. Because they weren't getting away with that shit in Europe. They were getting away with enslavement, but they weren't getting away with the torturous, murderous, rapist bullshit that they were getting away with over here on this side of the continent. Why do you think they fought against their own crown? It wasn't for their independence. It was so they could do whatever the fuck they wanted to the people that they brought over here and the people that were already here. They were tired of the crown putting rules and restrictions and laws on them on what not to do, how not to hurt. But they still did it anyway. Indigenous slavery was outlawed in the 1500s, but yet it existed all the way past Emancipation Proclamation.
And sharedness that we have with indigenous people in this country, we were both of our peoples were genocided on this land by the white man, and y'all are not, I don't think purposefully, but are letting white supremacy talking points divide us. Like, I'm an activist. I've been doing this for 10 years, okay? I have worked closely with, I'm sorry, I'm really passionate about this, but when I learned about activism and how it works and the things you need to do, the people who taught me that and taught my fellow activists that were black women and indigenous women, okay? Because we have been, you can't see what I'm doing, but we are linked. We are so, our peoples share such a great bond and have throughout all of American history. We've been in lockstep with each other. And you can comment on this, Notorious. Our peoples have been attached at the hip since our people were brought to this country. So like it's super frustrating and super disappointing to see this kind of discourse, in my opinion.
No, I don't disagree. And a lot of that kind of discourse can be avoided if people did their due diligence when it came to information that they are presenting. When I had my larger platform before I lost it, I always did make sure I did my due diligence before reposting things. Like I seen somebody today post a meme, and I think it was just more of a sarcastic meme, but people are taking it serious, where they said that the ICE hotline has been shut down because too many people, because 90% of the calls were reporting Elon Musk. That didn't happen. But it's getting pushed. As the other day I posted something and I took it down within 2 minutes because I got new information and I didn't want to spread misinformation. So we have to be responsible in the information we push, because that information that gets put out to other people can inadvertently affect them in a harmful way if we're not careful in doing our own due diligence. What we expect white people to do, then we should ourselves do the same thing when it comes to other communities. We can't expect us to fight racism and white supremacy and expect white people to act a certain way and do certain things when we ourselves are not willing to do the same things.
Exactly. And I also, I don't understand this with the indigenous community and the black community. Like, I don't understand this at all. Like, I can understand the Latino or Latin community. I know that's not really a great term, but it's just, what we have, or what my brain power can use right now. There's a lot of anti-blackness in those cultures, and sure. So that causes problems. But that is not the case in the indigenous community. That is not the case at all. These people are conflating two different groups of people and lumping them all together, and that doesn't make sense to me.
I will say this: there is anti-blackness in the indigenous and Latino communities. It exists, just as anti-blackness exists within the black community. There is anti-nativeness that exists within the indigenous and Latinos communities, just as there is anti-nativeness that exists within the black communities. Mm-hmm. I think what happens is we get into this war of, well, you guys have anti-blackness. Okay, well, you guys have anti-nativeness. That doesn't solve anything. The problem is we got to stop being ignorant and stop thinking that our people are not capable of being anti-black or anti-native, or that our people are not capable of being xenophobic. Because what that does is it does promote. I'll sit there and just go sit in Trumpers' lives, just listening in the comments. I don't say anything. I don't comment in anything. I just listen to what they say.
I do the same thing.
They're calling us hypocrites, and I don't blame some of them for doing that, because we are promoting and pulling the same tactics that they pull onto other communities of color. We're doing it to each other, but then preaching to them that they shouldn't be doing it to us. And that's wherein lies the problem. When I do a quote unquote call out video, it's not to demean somebody. I will present the facts and I will educate you on why it's not okay to say the things you're saying about my people. Just as I would expect anybody else to do the same when it comes to the black community. But for some reason, when we correct it, it becomes anti-blackness. When we correct it, it becomes we're racist, even though as POC, we don't have the ability to be racist. So this is where the hypocrisy comes in. And I see it from my own community, who also promote and propagate this bullshit where, they don't understand that black supremacy is not a real thing. That doesn't exist. But because they see anti-native or xenophobic black people, they want to claim that it's black supremacy. That's not okay. I call that out. I don't allow that shit to happen in my spaces. Right? So we have to be when we stand on our square about fighting white supremacy, we got to fight it 100% all the way. I do call out my people. I've called out my people several times.
100%.
I don't sugarcoat shit. Matter of fact, I'm probably harder on them than I am on anybody else because they're my people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if we keep on practicing decolonization and ain't even doing the work to decolonize, we ain't never gonna get out where we're at. If I'm being honest, all of us will deserve the shit because none of us are doing anything to actively decolonize from the system that has conditioned us to be how we are right now.
Yep. And also, like, my final point before we let the panel like discuss and stuff. Like, you guys also have to remember, like, a lot of this is online bullshit. Okay, like yes, every community has shitty people in it. I don't know personally any black person in my life, and I know a lot of black people, and I've met a lot of black people who like have ever said anything negative about indigenous people, like ever. Like, the majority of black people fuck with the indigenous community heavy, and vice versa. Like, this is an online problem. Like, this is not a problem in the real world. Like I said, our communities are attached at the hip. We are brother and sister. Black women and indigenous women are the most powerful people in this country, I think, on this planet. So, like, what are we talking about right now? Like, you know what I mean? I know it's good for discourse and to discuss, but like, this is a made up problem. But I digress.
I just want to ask you one question, and then I'll let Sage speak. You do a lot of boots on the ground activism, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so being somebody, like, I can always tell who's been boots on the ground and who isn't boots on the ground. When you are boots on the ground, do you not see solidarity between black and brown communities and people showing up for each other in all of these issues?
All the time, except for except for maybe the Asian community, who I still love, but we got some work to do with that. But in the Arab community, but other than that, yeah, like, no, I've never been like ever. Cultural. Yeah, like, I've never in the 10 years I've been doing this ever showed up and been like, wow, there's no Latino people here, or wow, there's no indigenous people here. And when I go to land back fucking rallies and protests and go speak to state legislators, like, is black women and the black community with Latino and indigenous people like fighting side by side. So like I said, this is not a real thing. This is just some internet bullshit.
Thank you. Sage, welcome to the panel. What would you like to add?
The only thing that I would like to ask is, what is your specific issue with me? Because you and I have had some discourse and some videos, and you called me an agent of white supremacy and xenophobic. So I'm trying to figure out what the issue with me is.
You were the one that made the video saying stand down to black women if ICE goes and raids schools.
Yes, that was me. I told black women to stand down.
That's
crazy work right there. That's crazy.
That's exactly why I said you were anti-Native and xenophobic.
So why is me telling black women to stand down xenophobic?
Because you were dealing with.
Are you crazy right now?
No, I'm just asking.
We're talking about women. We're talking about innocent children, and you're like, oh, fuck it.
No, I'm asking for clarification.
I'm telling you, that's the clarification. You are okay with children being targeted out of your own xenophobia and anti-nativeness. Because if that was black children, would you say stand down?
If it was black children, would I stand down?
Right.
No. And the indigenous people wouldn't stand down for us if this was happening to us. So, like, what are we talking about?
Well, okay, so let me be clear on something, right? My platform, I am a pro-black woman platform. I am black women first.
That's okay.
So that's great.
That's fine.
We love that.
I'm a pro-black woman platform. I have been that since I came on TikTok, right? And there's a reason why I'm telling black women to stand down, right? So if you understand...
When you finish, I have a question for you. Okay. No,
this is the thing, right? We black women are taking a step back from black men, right? A lot of us black women who are standing down, because I used to protest Black Lives Matter, right? But a lot of the black women in the space that I'm in are standing down from black men and advocacy for black men, because we don't see black men, I haven't seen it, advocate for themselves, or we notice there's a lack of reciprocity there. So when I tell black women to stand down, when I tell black women to stand down, right? It's not that I don't have a heart for children. It's not that I'm saying that I don't feel like that's the most effective way. I don't feel if ICE, I got this. Let me just hear me out. If ICE comes to those schools, whether they have pew-pews or whatever, right? Me and my husband had this conversation. My husband was like, you're not going to win against ICE. That's not how you win. I'm not saying the teacher can't advocate for her student, right? But I feel if the teacher is going to advocate for her student, it has to be in a way, I'm sorry, it has to be in a way where she's not going to lose her teaching license, particularly end up having bodily harm come to her or end up in prison. Because if she ends up in prison or any of those things, that child still gets taken away, still gets deported, and that's one less Black teacher to teach a child. So if there's going to be, let me finish. If there's going to be advocacy for these children, it has to be done in a different, in my opinion, it has to be done in a different way. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is that Indigenous people and Hispanic people have to lead the charge. Black women cannot be on the front line.
So actually, I'm going to defend you. I'm going to defend you on this. I think what's going on here is this is just bad messaging. I get what you're saying. You're saying the 92%. I'm with you. What the 92% is really saying is, look, we still rock with y'all. We still support y'all. We still gonna fight with y'all. We're just not gonna be on the front lines. We're not gonna be the first ones to jump because we feel like throughout history we've been like always there and blah 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 blah. Right? I understand that sentiment. I agree with that. I don't think like Black women like should be jumping first on this one. I agree with that. Not personally. Like personally, I'm gonna be on the front line.
Wait. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Here's a genuine question. What person from any of these communities that are being targeted right now has specifically said Black people jump out in front of us and take the lead in this?
Oh, nobody.
Okay,
I'm just speaking generally.
Hold on, please.
No, go ahead.
This is where this is the problem, because nobody has specifically said, Black people, please help us. What people have done is push for unity. And this was before even the election results. People have
that's not what I was saying.
Hold on, please. Hold on. I let you talk.
There's nobody else leading this charge except for Mexicans. Let me make that clear and straight.
Hold on, you guys. Please.
There has only been Mexicans.
Hold on, guys.
Chola, please. Let me finish. Guys, Sage, the reason why you were called anti-Indigenous and anti-Native is because in several of your videos, I went and looked at several of them. I didn't look at all of them, but I looked at several of them, where you promoted stereotypes and generalizations that are harmful. My point to you was, if you don't like being generalized, if you don't like your community being generalized, you cannot generalize other communities. And if you didn't want to listen to that, you didn't want to hear that out, you got defensive right away. Now, no one has said Black people come out and step up for us. Our people have been out there protesting. Our people are out there doing their thing right now. I need y'all to understand that. Nobody is saying we appreciate the unity, we appreciate the love when we get it, but we're out there. So I need people to understand that nobody is trying to put Black people in the front lines of this.
So what I was trying to say is that Black women, we have a nasty habit of jumping in. I'm not saying
exactly.
To do it. We Black women have a nasty
but so
habit
do us brown women.
So
That's the whole point. Is that you guys are not hearing me when I say that brown people have been out on the front lines and we have jumped out
I didn't say that you guys weren't on the front
Please
line.
stop.
Okay,
please,
hold on.
Everybody,
guys, please let BGP speak.
This is my panel, and everybody is taking themselves off of mute. Please stop.
Please let her speak. Thank you.
I'm tired of hearing the we did, and completely dismissing what everybody else has done. This is why I know you're not boots on the ground. Michael, you even said it yourself. You got Indigenous women and Black women out there. We're jumping out there in the front too. We've always done that. They don't show you that on the media. Again, the propaganda people fall for. Black Lives Matter. You know how many times I've heard Black people ask me, where were y'all at for Black Lives Matter? We were out there. We were out there in drones, in numbers. But they didn't show that to the people on TV who weren't out there on the streets, boots on the ground. They didn't show those images of tribal members out there doing ceremonial dances to protect Black people. They didn't show you how the Brown Berets in San Antonio and other cities across the nation were organizing the movements in order to uplift Black voices, so Black voices didn't have to do the grunt work by organizing everything. They didn't show you that.
I did not say that you guys weren't on the front lines. I'm saying that Black women, we have a nasty habit of jumping into everybody's stuff, getting
but so
on the
do
front
we.
and getting.
So do we.
But
I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here going around and saying indigenous women stand down. Because we have the same habit, because as women of color, hold on, Sage, as women of color, we all have the nasty habit of jumping in to help any marginalized person, because that is how our values have worked as women of color, period, across the board. It's always been women of color in the Black movements, in the indigenous movements, in the quote unquote Latino movements. There's always been women who have been the backbone of all of these movements.
Yes.
I was trying.
Just want to defend myself really quick.
Go ahead.
Can I say something real quick? I just want to say that I'm one of the premier organizers for Black Lives Matter here in Tucson and in Phoenix, and I can tell you that it was our indigenous people. You guys were coming to our resolutions. We were allowing to meet there so that we couldn't be raided and stuff.
We did this. I remember
find it wholly offensive that you say things like that we weren't there, because we were there putting our bodies. I'm a mother too. I wouldn't put my disabled.
I never said that.
I was going through chemotherapy. Wait, can I finish? I was going through chemotherapy at the time and went many times in my wheelchair and was there with my body on the line. And in these moments right now that I have barely slept maybe 2 hours a night for the last 7 days, I work for a place that one of our migrant shelters got shut down. I had to go to a little girl who all she had was a pink bunny and a pink blanket that she had just been gifted, and her whole entire life in a bag. And she was crying, scared we were going to take her blanket and her bunny because that's all she had. You don't know what we've been seeing these last days. And for you to be so cavalier and say things like that, I want you to ever put yourself in our shoes. Imagine if it was during that time, during 2020, and you were scrolling and you were seeing videos of indigenous women saying to stand down. And then when confronted on it, we would say things like, oh, we have a nasty habit of jumping in. Wouldn't you say, please, at this moment? Because guess what? The Gestapo is here at the door. And I just want you to realize that when they either lock us up or send us home, you are the next in the line. Please, sister, I need you to understand this. It doesn't matter at this point what voted for what. And fuck those Trumpies. Fuck those Trumpies. But what they want is for the left and all of us who stand on this side, for us to start fighting. Because in this exact moment that we need to be together most, this is what's happening. Instead, me and you could be organizing together, but instead we're here arguing on this panel. This is exactly what they want. And sister, I'm afraid that you're falling into the trap.
I just want to defend myself really quick about what I said earlier.
BGP is saying. Okay. You're falling into the trap of white supremacy.
So can I have a chance to respond to her after Michael?
After Michael, Sage, you can go.
Okay, so Notorious. I'm not saying I'm not saying I agree with this. Okay, I think we're maybe talking past each other a little bit. I'm just saying there's a sentiment in the Black activist community. Not saying I agree with this. I don't agree with this. And I think the same sentiment like you mentioned is in the other brown communities, where it's like we are always there for everybody. And I think most of this we're speaking towards white women. Like, we show up for your shit and everything, and then you leave us high and dry. And that's the sentiment in the Black activist community. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's true. So I just want to you, Notorious, I understand, yes, y'all are right there with us. I see it every day. But that's just where I see why the 92% are like, look, y'all, we can support these people, we can do these things, but that doesn't mean we need to be out there on the line protesting right away. Let these white women fucking get their shit together, okay? And stand on business. These white liberal leftist women, and stand on business and go out there first and make some fucking shit shake. I think I do agree with that. Wait, Notorious, go ahead, because they didn't listen to what I said.
Everybody, stop. So let me help, because I think everybody's in their feelings right now. So I need everybody to stop for a second. Everybody put yourself on mute. All right, listen up. So I get what Michael is saying. I don't disagree that white women who put us all into this predicament, because we're all fucking not putting the blame where the blame is supposed to be. We're blaming each other. So what Michael is saying is that white women should be the ones out in the front lines when it comes to the protesting against what's happening to indigenous people and Latino people, right? They should be out there, but they're not. And I get that. I get where black and brown women in general across the board are tired of doing that and tired of them not stepping up and them benefiting off of our activism and our work. I 100% agree to that. However, per this conversation with Sage, though, this is not about white children. This is about brown children. And if you're not aware, these teachers are already doing the things that you said, that you suggested, that why they should stand down. I don't know how many teachers you know, but every single teacher I know, and I come from a family of teachers, and I know all of their friends, and I have a lot of friends who are teachers, they will jump in front of bullets no matter who the child is for anybody.
Yes.
They will jump in front of, they will sacrifice their own lives, because we see this with school shooters all the time. So telling those women, those teachers, regardless of their race, to stand down is not in their nature in the first place.
Can I say something in response to political?
Watch a brown baby die.
Okay, so this is the thing, right? Political. I think you need to understand, because I said this earlier, that black women are taking a step back from activism. And we're not wrong for choosing to take a step back from activism. Fine, but see where it gets you didn't let me finish. I let you ramble twice, and you didn't let me finish. You didn't let me say anything.
Let her finish.
Okay, that's the first thing. Black women are taking it. We're even taking a step back from black men. I was out there here in Virginia for Black Lives Matter, and when I noticed that there was a lack of reciprocity when there was a black woman who was a victim, a lot of us and a lot of my black women mutuals, we were like, okay, we're taking a step back, right? So when I see black women saying, oh, I'm going to try to stop ICE, this, that, and the third, like I said earlier, if they want to do it in other ways where other women, the indigenous and Latino community leads the charge and they support to where they don't have to lose their livelihood or their lives or anything like that, but you're not going to win against, if ICE comes in there with pew-pews, you're not going to win against it if you're a teacher. You're going to end up in federal prison.
Hold on.
Ma'am, that's what activism is. You put your life on the line for human rights. That's what we do. That's what I do.
That's what I'm saying. She's not going to win. You're going to take that child and then take her life. That's what I'm saying.
Hold on.
You're not going to win.
Why are you in
Everybody
activist
stop.
conversations when you're clearly not an
I'm just going to
activist?
say this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to end this conversation right here. Sage, you are telling people because you think that they should take a step back when you don't even know how the system is working right now. You don't know what these schools are already doing. These schools are already taking a stand. These schools are already because of school shooters, these schools are already on lockdown, and they have to come to the door and ask and hit the intercom to come in. They are not being allowed in by anybody in the schools. And when you say you can't go against ICE, that's like saying you can't go against the police. That's like saying nobody is asking anybody to sit there and personally fight ICE. But what we're saying is you can utilize your rights and your privilege as a citizen to say, if you do not have a warrant because these kids don't know better, if you do not have a federal warrant with a specific name on it for you to take one of these children, you do not get to take them. And you can stand firmly in front of an ICE officer and do so.
I said, this is my other issue, right? If ICE is coming into these schools, I need to see the Latino and indigenous men standing in front of these schools, right? Guarding these schools from ICE.
I'm done.
I wanted to step in.
Here's what I'm going to say. Do not say you need to see Latino and indigenous men. Do not sit there and say you need to see Latino and indigenous people when we are out there, when we are doing things, when people are organizing. Please don't do that. Please stop minimizing
for the people in
what
the back.
we are doing. Stop doing it. If you don't see it, hold on, Chola, hold on. If you do not see the brown people, the brown men, the brown women out there on them streets doing what they're doing, then that's
looking.
because you're not out there in those streets.
Yes, exactly.
I also.
Can I just say one last thing?
I'm sorry, Chola.
Hold on, Prophet. Go ahead, Chola.
I just wanted to say very
Yeah, go
quickly,
ahead.
you guys, there's this thing called the Red and Orange Card Program going around the entire country. You can if you guys want to, I can come back and give the information to you guys in a little bit. I do got to get off right now. But basically what it is that they're going around doing ICE training. That way you know exactly where you stand, exactly what you can do. Me as a felon, I ask questions about what would be the best, most protective way for me, because I also have children. None of us want to end up in jail. Nobody does. But when you go to an activist situation, you have to know that that's a possibility every single time, right? Anytime.
Yep, exactly.
But,
You don't join activism knowing that this can
so
go
they're
wrong.
doing wait.
Like-
So we're doing a training. So we're doing a training that's going around. Also within that, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I can get red and orange cards to you. Now, I don't know about the orange cards actually, but the red cards, yes. You need to find out in your city, like for example, in Tucson and other big cities, especially along the border, what we're doing is we're having these orange cards. On it, it has a phone number with a dispatch. We have right now 155 different lawyers who are ready to stand to show up. So within 15 minutes, so first the person gives them the red card. It says in English and Spanish their rights and that whether or not they're being detained. If they're not being detained, then you leave, right? But if they do say that they're going to detain you for any reason, whether you're an activist or you're actually an immigrant, you hand them the orange card and you say, this is my lawyer and I need you to contact them now. And I'm telling you, this is happening around cities all over the country. In Chicago, I know it's even happening. And then within 15 minutes, a lawyer shows up, immigrant specialist shows up, and at least 3 community members. I've seen it where people are there within 6 minutes, within 2 minutes, because you get a dispatch, and then every person who enters into the program, you make a commitment that you're going to knock on the doors of just 4 blocks within your house, like, you know, just your little blocks around your street, and go and identify people and give them the card. Even if it's a waste of time, even if those people are just going to throw them away, right? You're going to get to people who are going to need that. And you do not know. Citizens, everybody, us natives, I'm an enrolled native, but I still need to carry these cards around, right? Like, all of us need to be with these. And I just want to say one last thing, you guys. All of us who are brown and black are going to be affected by this, okay? Because it's not just quote unquote Mexicans who are illegal immigrants or whatever. We have our Dominican cousins, we have our Taino cousins, we have our Caribbean, our Bahamas, all of that. Every one of us are subject to this, and it's not gonna be long before it's not just brown people that they're stopping. They're gonna start stopping Asian people, black people, brown people. It's going to be all of us, you guys. It's